So then, so let us start again from the beginning, as we said last session. From the beginning, you can see that this diagram is not written by H.P.B, but she dictated to a gentleman called Sturdy. And next time I will send to you a document that the English section very nicely publish it at the same time with my article in their magazine. Yeah. So after that, or 1 or 2 days later, because depending upon our meetings here, when it can leave some free time, I will do it at once. So let us say that it is so the work of Sturdy, but the content, the essence is from Blavatsky. And from the first start, as we have explored already last time, that first conceived of unity by expansion in space and infinite in time. We have just tried to experiment these two things, space and time. And what I would suggest you to do again is to do it now, before I go into the details of things. Now, just we start our meditation, start to take some breathing, which I hope that you have done at home before, all the exercises for the nape here. Now keep the spine vertical with the nape vertical. Close your eyes if possible, and then remember, first conceive of unity by expansion in space and infinite in time. So there are two things. In fact, three. Unity we try to conceive, and by using our imagination and using the function of the mind of expanding in space and to conceive infinite in time. Just do it now. The mind is the limited field of consciousness. Consciousness is one. This is the universal consciousness. It is one. Normally, it is undivided. It is one. And our mind is just a particular condition of this consciousness. Particular condition in the sense that it is limited. So the space, meaning what it can contain as concept, as ideas, as capacity of thinking, capacity of conceiving, etc., etc. Those capacities belong to the capacities of space itself, meaning consciousness itself, consciousness of the universe. Consciousness that some philosophy of India call Mahat. Mahat, the firstborn from spirit and matter. And this expansion in space, when we exercise this in our meditation, will show to us that it is expandable. The field inside the mind is expandable, meaning that consciousness, as many times I have said, it is flexible, fluid, and movable. It is always moving. No moment, at no moment, this consciousness can be still, cannot be still, always moving. And this our meditation is to learn to move with it. You know, everyone knows that mechanically, when two engines fly at the same speed, when they look at each other, this is this impression to be immobile. Now, just think that if the mind, the substance of the mind, which is consciousness of the mind, meaning consciousness itself, but under the form of the mind, is moving at the same speed than consciousness one, automatically consciousness in the mind can be seen as pacified, same speed. It gives the impression that nothing happens there because it is so big, so I would say boundless. Expansion in space, boundless, meaning that the more we conceive it, the more this space grow larger, 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 not only 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions, but we know 4 dimensions. This 4th dimension is thought to be time. It is thought to be. Now, probably it is quite different. At a certain time, we have mentioned many dimensions. And I give as an example, the square, the cube, and the tesseract. And we know so far, we know the square on the paper, 2 dimensions. We know the cube, 3 dimensions, but the 4th, we cannot know. It is very many speculations about this. And this gentleman, author of this term, tesseract, Mr. Hinton, explained very, very much about, but how can you explain the 4th dimension when you are living on the 3rd dimension? Impossible. So the more you explain, the less you understand. The only condition which will give you the possibility of understanding and seeing the thing is yourself moving on the 4th dimension. We follow. So meaning that we try, we knock at every wall, but there is no door open for us because we are living on the 3rd dimension. And the act of meditating, I don't say meditation, I say the act of meditating will open some doors to us at a certain moment. And those moments on the field of consciousness, it can occur, but we cannot know about it. Because on those levels, consciousness is just subjective, meaning that we can know something outside. I can see the garden, I can see you, the image of you, I can see a pen, I can see, but it is objective. Now, inside consciousness, if you are moving with consciousness itself, and it is subjective, you cannot describe it afterwards as an experience in objectivity. This is why mystics are incapable of describing their own experience. And all experience on the spiritual field are just subjective. It does not mean that they don't have values. They have values, but you cannot compare because they are not objective. Everyone has to live it individually, and it is not comparable. We follow each other so far? So when we say expansion in space, even though we know that we can go through the experience of space boundless, the boundless, the term depends upon the skandhas of the mind of the individual who is living this experience. Okay? So then, boundless is just a notion that for this moment, you cannot go in the sense that you put a limit because there is no boundage, no borders. Borderless, boundless. And then the boundless and the borderless there depends upon the size of your mind, meaning that depending upon the conditions formatted or prepared by your own skandhas coming from the past. Do you follow? So that no one can say it is equal as experience. No, every experience is unique, cannot compare because of its subjectivity. Now we go through this experience of conceiving the unity as oneness by expanding in space our mind. When we try to do this, it is working on the mind, meaning that the mind is so limited that you see we are conditioned by our style of life, our way of living, in a way, meaning our habits. And because our habits has been formed by the paradigm, which we don't know consciously. Now we have to get back to the source and try to understand what is our paradigm there. And this is why when the question was asked, I answer, we want to know what paradigm you have, what the way you are living. Your style of life will indicate to you the paradigm of your living. Now, so when we try to conceive this oneness, the unity, by expanding in space, and we can find it is boundless, meaning that we can go for ever, endlessly. If we have, I would say, 1,000 years, and we can live 1,000 years, we can go and go and go and go, and meaning that at the end, there is no end. This is just a figure of rhetoric. At the end, we will find that there is no borders inside our own consciousness. So it is boundless. It is a finding, it is a discovery. And as to the matter of time, we say that conceiving unity, meaning the oneness of consciousness, consciousness one, not oneness of consciousness, consciousness one, when we try to do it by in imagining infinite in time, at the end of the road, still there, it is rhetorics. At the end of the road, time will be abolished. There is no time because space is boundless. We can go. So where is time? This indicates the capacity of our mind to understand when we read afterwards this sentence in the proem, meaning the piece of introduction of the small booklet of the stanza of Dhyan. It is a collection of all the stanzas of Dhyan for meditation. And in the proem, the author says, space, time, and then at the first of the stanza, first ones, it says, time was not, because it is slumbering in the bottom, I think, of duration. Well, it is very poetically said, but time and duration, when we say duration, we can say 100 years, 2,000 years, 3 millennia, etc., etc. Okay? All this is measurable. We can measure it. But when we say eternity, in another context, I explain that eternity does not have any sense. Because time, if you say eternity, means that time will last forever. Okay? This is why it is eternity. But then, when time lasts ever, you cannot measure it. And time normally should be measurable. If not, then it cannot exist. So it is the disappearance of time. Do we follow each other? So when we try to conceive of unity by expansion in space and infinite in time, we can discover two most important things in our mind. Later we can understand intellectually, but on the spot at the moment, we can see, we can observe that expansion in space implies this discovery that there is no borders. Space is boundless. And as to time, we end up with the disappearance of time. Because infinity is a characteristic of something different than time. Time is not eternity. Infinity has something to do with eternity. But when you say eternity, you cannot imagine what is it. When you say infinity, yes, infinity is the definition and the characteristic of what is infinite, meaning no borders, no limit, meaning boundless. It is the same. So among the two things, space and time, in our meditation, time disappears. Only remains a space, which is the field of our consciousness limited, particular, called mind. Do we follow each other so far? Okay, so it is important to know it at once from the beginning, because when we apply the diagram later on, this matter of time constitutes a paradox. Paradox because we have to learn, and the process of learning is time. But time is not, in fact. So the learning, either it is immediate or there is no learning. This is why Krishnamurti insisted a million of times about this learning and listening. When we want to learn, we just listen. When we miss the listening, it's finished. We have to reproduce again the same thing, and it is not the same thing. So this matter of understanding of time is very important because it is a paradox when we will examine all the columns there, down there, and we will discover that in meditation, we are not knowing something as well as when we learn. When we learn, we absorb things and we are not conscious that we are doing it. If we are conscious that we're doing it, we miss something. As when we listen and when we put all our attention, which we call full consciousness, mindfulness in this listening, there is the learning, which is automatically, because it is identical. You don't have to listen first and learn after. You follow me? The listening is the learning. And what makes the difficulty is that we are so full in our mind that we cannot learn more, because it is the famous story of the Zen Buddhism that the cup is too full and then the master cannot pour more tea. Everyone knows about it, right? And then first we have to empty the cup. And emptying the cup is the practice of meditation. Is the act, the fact. No, let me put it in a very more precious and accurate way. Cleansing the mind is the act of meditating. Cleansing the mind is the act of meditating. It is quite different, a nuance which is subtle, but it is different when you say the purification of the mind comes from meditation, because it went through already the glass of the intellect. You understand that? Okay. It is very important because as we are in the phases of learning to develop the intellect, sometimes we confuse the fact and the concept. Okay. Now, when Blavatsky say first conceive by expansion, we conceive unity, but unity cannot be lived without this experience of space boundless and infinite in time, meaning negation of time. Meaning that if we live always with space, meaning with consciousness, we are living in the eternal. Okay. So then I leave the term either with or without self-identification. As in my article, I explained it a little bit further because it is subtle. And James asked the question at the last session, the previous session. His question was, when all this is done with self-identification, is it emptiness? I answer is yes. Now, we are not going to stay in this. We come back at the end of the diagram. Okay. Now leave it, and then now she proposed to meditate logically and consistently on this in reference to states of consciousness molded by all the columns there. And then if you have read my article, this diagram should be read from right to left. It is a curiosity, because the Western mind is used to do things from the left to the right. And there is some symbolic dimension to this. When we go from left to right, we are moving from past to future. Now, if we move from right to left, we are coming back to the source. Okay. Now then, let us start with the. Can you show a little bit more, Mary Kay? I can do it. Okay. No, I cannot. So stop now. So we meditate on this, meaning that by normal time, our consciousness is molded by those things. All those things are just modifications of inside our mind, inside the little piece of consciousness which we call the mind. That is molded by all these sensation, personality, possessions, the distinction between friend and foe, and the separations and meetings, association with places, time, and forms. It is the first observation. Now, if we go into the details of things, the sensations, we can list it more than that. The diagram shows, I would say, the grossest vices that we could have in sensation, gluttony. You can observe it in some special restaurant in America. They can pay a fixed amount and they eat whatever they can. And of course, when you watch them how they eat, it is absolutely painful to watch. But they eat. And it is that extreme. But for us also, sometimes we fall in gluttony because of unawareness, because we are so we feel the feeling of being starving, and then we jump upon the food and we would eat with gluttony. It is the first sensation. Then after that, lust. We can list more, can put more, but there is no I would say used to stay on negative things. But let us say that this list is not exhaustive. You can add whatever you want for the sensation. And then after that, from the left, personality or goodness. Many of the good people, decent, good, of some standard, they still have this. And I mean that the more they develop, the more they would have the capacity of developing those negativity. Negativity meaning the vanity. Vanity is to feel one is superior, meaning that. And there are occasions for all of us to think that globally humanity is more stupid than us. Is it? Whenever we have this sensation, we can be sure that it is manifestation of personality in the form of vanity. But it is not useful to us to say, I accuse myself of this. Just observe and find it. Don't accuse, don't name. You just say, oh, it is so. It is proving that we are falling inside the diagram. And then next to the vanity, we can feel this remorse, goodness, all the remorse that an individual can feel in one's life. Remorse of various sizes, the big, the small, the minuscule, the big one. Have I done it good? Etc. It is not that. We have to ask the question whether during the day we have said something not nice to somebody, our action, our attitude is not right, etc. It is okay. But the feeling of remorse is that when we have seen that, instead of saying, okay, I have seen, let's move, we remain of a kind of sensation of negativity about this. I mean, that everyone has experienced it. Don't have to go more in it. So this feeling of remorse is eating the energy from inside, because all of us has been given a quantity of energy, I must say, quite equally. And then we destroy this little by little. It is like you see a tap which is always leaking, so that all the water from the big reservoir at the end disappears completely, and we are in a situation of being depressed. Depression is a kind of the process is energy emptying itself, vital energy emptying itself. So then let us move on the left side still. Possessions. Oh, you look at those people who have big yacht, giving receptions, etc., etc. All this superior to the whole humanity, particularly for those, compare with those who try to survive with $2 a day. It is a little bit, I would say, full of shame normally, if these people are normal, but they are not normal. They're not normal because they are obsessed now by possessions. They don't think about sharing. They don't think about giving. Whatever they give something, they expect already to get back something, perhaps a little bit more, with more value. It is not giving, it is not sharing. It is just showing, bestowing generosity. It is quite different. It is to nourish and still to develop this negative side of the personality. This is greed combined with selfishness and ambition. All these aspects all of us have. There is no exception. Of course, the difference is just that we are aware or we are not. And if we are aware, the difference is that are we going to reform ourselves? Not transform, reform ourselves from the inside. The difference is that difference if we want to evolve and develop our inner capacities into spirituality, awareness should be given to that and not say, I am like that. Well, so you are like that, meaning that you are denying the thesis of evolution, because I was born like that, I will die like that. So what is the difference? Normally, we should die the day when we die. We should die a little bit less stupid. Okay, so I try to make it bigger still. Okay, no, try to make it bigger, and it is smaller. And we can move all the way. Yeah, now it comes back. So moving left. Now it is more subtle, a little bit more subtle, because we have been taught since the childhood that be careful with people. These ones are good people. They want to be good to you, and the other ones are bad people, not good people, and they do not want to help you or to be nice to you. And we are living in this phenomenon, meaning implication, the consequence of a dualistic mind, friend and foe. Friends and foe, always. This is just a manifestation of the duality of the mind. If we think, what is it? And then the mind is incapable of thinking in more terms than two. So it is either this or that one. But the mind is, for the time being, incapable of thinking perhaps this one, perhaps the other one, the opposite, perhaps both, and perhaps neither one or the other. See, this is the lacking of the mind. So then, when there's a distinction between friend and foe, there is something like we are disappointed all the time. We're disappointed because we expect always something in our relationship, because life is relationship. If there's no relationship, there's no life. It is just by oneself. And we are not even defined as somebody because of the laws of interdependence. Only relationships would define who you are. You start to have a name by convention, and people are related, and then you have a role to play, you have responsibility, they link together, etc. It is all the network of relationship. It is called life. And in this life, you have an existence. Otherwise, you don't have any existence. Nagarjuna demonstrated brilliantly is that you take out all the relationship, you don't exist. And in fact, nothing can say that it is existing. Nothing. This is the doctrine of emptiness. We will come back later. So it said that no dharma has a real existence. No dharma. The term dharma is a generic to express whatever which is manifested in our universe. It is called a dharma. And there is no dharma higher than truth. It means that no doctrine, no religion, no teachings higher than the truth. So he said there is no dharma that can pretend to be existing. We come back later for that. So then when we distinguish people with our dualistic mind, we have to suffer disappointment, because the one will indicate that we expect, the other one, the other side, the opposite, indicates that despite all expectations, we come to disappointment. So it is at the end, our mind is disturbed, distorted, and you can certainly observe in certain populations that people define life by disputes. They have to quarrel. They have to quarrel to feel themselves alive. And when it takes a big size, dimension, it turned out to be war. So the distinction between friend and foe implies that at a certain point, inevitably, we end up with war. Small war, quarreling, bigger war, disputing, punching each other, and then a more refined, we go to court and to sue the other one, etc., etc. It is always fighting the one after against the other. See? So the mind is completely biased, and at the end of this, we have to learn this lesson of reasoning and coming to learn a little bit of discernment. A little bit of discernment. After having suffered certainly a lot, after many lives, because we resist against the learning, so it has to repeat, and then, well, finally, we learn, and perhaps we can have the capacity to learn the first time without going through all this suffering, pain, and sorrows. But this will be also the next development. So let us go ahead. Can you move a little bit upward, Merike, so that we can see, we could see after the, no, upward. Yes, more, up, yeah. You see, this part shows us a kind of analytical observation of ourselves, inside and outside. And you can see it is coming from grosser to more refined, and at the end of the column there, the fifth column, it is a term of war, but this fifth column, no, anyhow, at the end of the first part, we can read separations and meetings, associations with places, times and forms, futile longings, expectation, sad memory, broken-heartedness. And we come with at the end, it is broken-heartedness. I'm sure everyone has lived this experience, which will mark the turning point in our life, because in this broken-heartedness, our personality also get broken. So you have to wait until when I ask you to ask questions. Bruno, Baba, Garen. So, futile longings. Have you observed that you are waiting for something always in the life? Well, if you have not waited for fortune to smile at you, you certainly have been waiting for the handsome prince or good ladies. For men, it is a little bit different. But princess waiting for the prince, there's a fortune waiting. You can wait also for better conditions. It is legitimate. Nobody would say you don't have the right to think that you should get better conditions. No. I am talking about the analysis of what happens in the mind. You have the right to live your life, lead it in a way of the evolutive way, honest, authentic, no problem. But inside the mind, you very often are longing for thousands of things. And you are expecting so many things. And sometimes we are living on sad memories. Have you observed that some people cannot get rid of their sad memories, and finally they define themselves by those amount of sad memories? They define their personality about just by sad memories and brokenheartedness or goodness. Brokenheartedness is a very, very rich experience. First of all, it shows that you have a heart to be broken. Otherwise, you would go with a piece of wood. But then, don't let yourself to be drowned in this feeling of brokenheartedness. In life. And very often it is like that. Because it is a kind of revolutionary event in life. So far, you would say, oh, everything is good, everything is nice, everything. And then suddenly something happened against your will, against your desire, against your wishes, against what you think about love. And you are brokenhearted. Welcome it as a benediction. I am saying absurdities there? I don't think so. I don't think so. For those who have lived this experience and who have survived and who have advanced in life, it is all true. Okay, so all this part of the right side, we have to observe very, very, very well, very keenly, to either in order to move on the left part. We don't have the time to do it now, the second part, the left part, which will lead us to something which is absolutely sublime at the end. But now, time is running. I would like to propose to you, if you have questions to ask, it is now the time before we meditate a little bit. We don't have time.
We had one question before. A person raised
Yes,
their hand.
yes, this gentleman was not listening to me, probably.
Oh, okay. He says he raised his hand by mistake here.
Okay, I like this. I prefer that. Okay. So now I'm listening to you because I'm learning also to try to understand what you express in order to give some.
Yes, James have risen.
James, go ahead, James.
Okay, Tran, I'm very grateful for what you just said about broken-heartedness.
Yes.
When you've lived a long life, as I have, you've had to endure a lot of grieving, which
Yes.
may be difficult for some of the younger people watching this to appreciate. So what you said, thank you very much. Now, would I be right in understanding that on the chart, on the diagram, deprivations on the right, would I be right in thinking that they are the unreal things, and that the acquisitions on the left are the real things? And when we reach your stage 4, perception of the unreal, that means we jump from the right to the left, from the unreal to the real.
Yes.
Is that what it means?
In a way, meaning that when we learn to get rid of our point of view, which is absolutely illusionary and unreal, and coming to the fact that for fact and the view is factual, then there is truth in it, because all you can see on the left side of the diagram, all the things there, all of us have lived it. I mean that at a certain point we have been ambitious, at a certain point we will anger, etc., etc. All this is I mean that I would not say normal. I mean it is natural as a process in the growth or in the spiritual growth that we have to leave behind us many things. And to the question asked last time, what we have to leave out, you see, well, everything we know as negative, we have to leave out. And all this, we cannot pretend that it is all positive, except that the last ones, as he said, with a long life, you have many, many occasions to feel brokenheartedness. But the youngster, they are going ahead, and probably with a kind of favorable impulse in the cosmic level, they will be helped not to fall in this state of brokenhearted as often as those who are a little bit older. And if they are a little bit older, if they learn the lesson, at the first brokenheartedness, they learn the lesson and they don't let it happen again. And if they leave it to happen again, it means that on their road of evolutionary progress, they have to leave more and more behind. Have we met, James?
Yes, thank you very much.
I'm glad. Okay, any question more?
Yes, we have Vimal Balchan.
Yes, hi Kim. I just want to know, like, what does it mean to meditate in reference to states of consciousness? Because like states of consciousness is something we know. Okay, these are the 4 states or 3 states of consciousness. So what does it mean to meditate in
Yes, I understand your question. Where are you?
Where am I?
The second page.
She can't,
so that I could. Yeah.
There's not enough light here, so maybe you can't see me clearly. Can you see me?
You don't have a video on. You just have your name, Vinal Balchan.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I see you now.
Yes.
You are in the magma of obscurity. Now you have light in your face. I like it better because it helps me more than having a magma of obscurity. Okay, Vimal, when we read this part of the left, and it is said that meditate on the state of consciousness molded by. What is the mold? Well, when you have a state of consciousness, either you are sad, you are joyous, you are whatever. It is just a state of consciousness. And those states of consciousness have been formed, conditioned by all this. A person who is very greed, let's say, the lifetime, his consciousness is molded by greed. And when she advises us to meditate upon those states of consciousness, molded, meaning what? Meaning that the term of meditate here is not to meditate in the act of meditation, act of meditating as we do when we are already concentrated. But meditate here means observe and see. Meaning, as I have suggested at the beginning, just see. Look and see in your own mind. Look and see and drop. Don't keep. And so if you see that the state of consciousness has been molded by ambition, by lust, well, if you wish to evolve spiritually, you drop it. Otherwise, you cannot keep it and pretend to do the contrary. It is a lack of logic and consistency. This is what she said. Meditate logically and consistently, meaning that you see it, you observe, meaning you look, you observe, and you are aware of it. You look, to see, and you drop it.
Could you give me some examples of states of consciousness? Like, okay, there is an angry
I just
state.
told you. I just
Like,
told you.
yeah, like can I say of like a few? Can you say whether I'm right or wrong? Like, anger is a state of consciousness.
Yes.
Confusion is a state of consciousness. Pride is also all the qualities are states of consciousness. That is what she is saying.
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
It's
Thank you.
not qualities. It is not quality.
Okay.
Well, it is generically, you can say quality. Of a quality. We understand that.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
You are welcome, Vimal. Try to have more light on your face. Okay. Anything else?
So do we have any other questions, comments?
If not, we will be quiet for a few moments. Mirike, we are now 5 o'clock, is it?
Yes,
No,
little bit
sorry.
longer, but we have
No.
a few minutes if you need.
No. Yeah, it is at 5. Yeah. So we will take a few minutes to stabilize the mind, because starting a little bit in a kind of monkey way. Pause and still come back to this advice. You conceive unity through expansion in space and infinite in time. You realize, as I said, the boundlessness of space and the unreality of time. And then you will see in the whole field of our mind, which is a piece of consciousness, you will find everything molded by many things. And then, first of all, we observe the right side, and then we go next session on the left side, which is more positive and certainly more attractive. But we cannot play escapism. We have to see it to the reality of things and to drop it. Otherwise, if we refuse to see, we can never drop. Okay, so let us do it. Quite a short moment. Today, we have observed the gloomy part of our consciousness, and we have to deal with it. Otherwise, it will hang on and will really play a role of big obstacle in our life and our growth. Now, the next time we will observe and explain the glorious part. Instead of the gloomy, we will have the glorious part. And this glorious part will reach the top of the development of consciousness, resulting in something which is more than glorious. It is the glory of the glorious. As the Bhagavad Gita said, in this sublime style, when Krishna said, I am the splendor of the splendid. So you have things to hope and to wait for. And I will be seeing you next time, meaning on the 23rd, when I will be resumed home, so that you would have the same decor at home. So thank you very much for your participation, attentive, your listening. And it is when you listen well and you ask questions and we exchange, it is already my reward. Okay, be happy and see you next time. Goodbye.
Thank you very, very much.